So without further ado, let's go on to today's webinar, which is the Tricot experience in Nigeria with groundnut, pearl millet, and sorghum. And this will be presented by Dr. Rekiya Abdulmalik and Dr. Hawa Ahmed at the Institution for Agricultural Research in Nigeria. So Dr. Rekiya Abdulmalik is a sorghum breeder and principal research fellow at the Institute for Agricultural Research at the Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria. Her colleague, Dr. Hawa Ahmed, is a groundnut breeder also at the Institute for Agricultural Research, and their work focuses on developing high-yielding, nutrient-rich, and stress-tolerant crop varieties in collaboration with national and international partners. Today, they will share their experience using the Tricot approach to evaluate sorghum, pearl millet, and groundnut genotypes across the dryland regions of Nigeria.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Rekiya Abdulmalik. With me here is Dr. Hawa Ahmed from the Institute for Agricultural Research, as already introduced. Here to present our experience on Tricot with groundnut, millet, and sorghum. By way of introduction, sorry, please, you excuse me, my voice. By way of introduction, the Tricot is a farmer-led on-farm trial method used to evaluate new technologies, usually in TRIDAC, which means in trees with farmers in their own field. And usually they are evaluated under real condition, which is farmers' condition, how usually they will plant without any supply of input or assistance with any input. So there are various benefits of the Tricot, some of which they assign easy tasks for each participant. It's easy to follow. Participants are encouraged to contribute with their own resources, not to be helped with any resource. The process is supported with user-friendly digital tools for data management and analysis, which is the ODK and the ClimMob tool. Under the 1,000 Farms Catalytic Small Grant Project, this project united 3 esteemed NAS partner institutions. We have Professor S.G. Mohammed from the Center for Dryland Agriculture, BUK, Dr. Hawa Ahmed, myself, and Dr. Abdulrahman from Institute for Agricultural Research, Zaria, and Dr. Maryam Dawud from LCRI, Lake Chad Research Institute, all of whom we are all breeders except for Dr. Sani Abdulrahman. Now, the focus was, why did we do this? It was to merge expertise, to pool our resources together to achieve a common goal and achieve a common target instead of duplicating effort. So in order to, manage our resources more efficiently, this was the aim and how we came about, focus on this project. Next, for the method, selected 5 states across 3 agroecological zones, which is the Sudan, Sahel, and Northern Guinea, based on crop cultivation and consumption. Then we selected 6 communities per state, where ADPs were consulted to know the active zones and safe zones because of issues of security. Then we had 30 field agents for the whole project based on their experience and sampling. And we had 10 farmers per community based on purposive sampling, gender, and social groups, making a total of 900 participants across states. Then you have 300 participants per crop. Then when you multiply it by 3 for the 3 crops, then you have 900. That's how we came about 900 participants. Then we employed the normal Tricot method is what we used. First of all, we created our projects on the ClimMob platform where technologies were assigned. Then we randomized using the incomplete block design into blocks of 3, where each of the technologies were given favorable chance to be assigned at least once in trees. Then these randomized technologies were transferred. The project was now transferred into the ODK platforms, where farmers, that's the field agents, registered. So after registration, then they went ahead conducted their trials. They established their trials on the field. Each plot consisted of 4 rows, 5 meters. Of course, they are in trees already. Farmer observations and the rankings were taken, and the data was transferred to the ODK tool. And from the ODK, of course, it went back to the ClimMob where analysis was done. So I think Dr. Howard will take over now to give you discussions on the result.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, after the data collection, of course, for the 3 different crops, series of questions were answered by the farmers. So these questions for groundnuts, for example, questions were answered based on performance of the genotypes tested, based on the yield, on the grain size, the color, the marketability. So on the ClimMob platform, it was analyzed, and the overall performance preference of the farmers with respect to the materials assessed was now presented. So this figure shows the overall preference of those farmer for groundnut. We had 4 checks. So each of the box shows comparison of the materials tested against the check. So we can see that the materials, their performance was similar with respect to the rankings seen there. But of course, the first genotype there, ICGV IS14877, had the highest mean across when compared across the 4 checks used. Then this figure shows the Kendall correlation coefficients between the overall preference and the traits assessed. Well, this gives us an indication of which traits influenced the farmer's preferences. For groundnut, the grain size was top. It had the highest correlation with the farmer's preference. This was closely followed by marketability, pod yield, grain color, and then the home yield. So this, by extension, shows us which of the traits the breeder should concentrate more with respect to the improvement of groundnut, so that we can align the preference of the farmer with our breeding targets. Of course, aligning the farmer preference with the breeding targets will help to accelerate their adoption of our materials when they are released. Okay. This figure shows the farmer's overall preference for millet. For millet, these are the materials tested against 4 checks. Then the material, the GAM-A-11-14X Super Susat had the highest ranking across as in when compared with all the 4 checks used in the Tricot trials. So likewise, for groundnuts, this preference was, of course, pulled from the various ranking received by the different traits assessed by the farmers. And this is the correlation between the different traits assessed by the farmers and the farmers' preference. This, of course, shows that with respect to millet, these are the most important traits that influence the farmer's choice. The first on the list there is the yield. Yield has, in fact, the high significant influence on the preference of the farmer with respect to his choice of millet. Then this figure shows the farmer's overall preference for sorghum. For sorghum, the materials were tested. The test materials were tested with two checks, and ICS X16844-B, the first entry there, had the highest overall farmer preference when compared with the materials as well as the checks. And for sorghum, the correlation coefficients in the between the overall preference and the traits assessed indicates that yield, of course, was most important in the farm influencing the farmer's choice, which was closely followed by the germination and the plant survival. I must say that this is very important, as these rankings and, of course, the correlation that has been observed between the farmer's overall preference and then the traits assessed will know that we go a long way in influencing the breeders' decisions with respect to selection of materials to advance, and then to finally release to accelerate the adoption of improved materials for cultivation by farmers. Okay, the first picture there by the left shows the refresher training we had for field agents before the commencement of the Tricot trials. And then the next, the picture by the side is one of the farmers' plots where the three technologies were tested, A, B, and C. Okay, well, we also faced some challenges with respect to retrieving data from the field agents because we had to be following them to submit. You notice that some of the trials we do not have all response for all the farmers, and which is the field agents, we have to follow them up to submit, because if they do not submit this data, we won't be able to, of course, get the most out of the Tricot trials. Then we also face the challenge of invasion and grazing by cattle herdsmen, and some of our trial plots were lost. And then of course we also lost some trials to flooding. So these were some of the challenges we faced that prevented us from getting back data from all the trials from which Tricot trials were established. Okay, the way forward, we hope that this we strengthen collaboration with local communities. There's a need to strengthen collaboration with local communities to prevent cattle invasion, such that trials for such purposes are protected, so that we, of course, achieve the best out of these trials. Then it will also be good, of course, for trial selection. We select well-drained sites, and of course adopt good water management practices to prevent flooding. And then there is a need also to enhance motivation and the supervision of field agents, so that we can, of course, retrieve a good percentage of our data back, so that we can, of course, get the best out of the Tricot trials. Okay. We want to acknowledge the Alliance by the Biodiversity and SEAT, and of course the 1,000 farms for the opportunity to conduct these trials, and to be able to go as far as we went. Of course, we are really grateful. Then we also acknowledge the 3 institutions that came together to do this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rekiya and Hawa.
Yeah.
Very good presentation. We already have a couple of questions in the chat, and I'd like to read those to you now. I don't know if you can actually see the chat on your screen as well, and you can follow along with the questions there. But the first one is from Namuha, who says, are the cultural practices identical among the farmers? And are the analyses carried out directly on ClimMob? Rekiya, would you like to answer that question from Namuha? You're on mute.
Hello, can I help them?
Oh,
Can
would you
I
like?
Yes.
Yeah, my
Okay,
name is
good.
Sanusi Gaya Mohammed from the Center for Dryland Agriculture, Bayero University, Kano. I was part of this work, and thank you for the opportunity. Yes, the question on cultural practices, yeah, most of the major activities were similar in the locations we use. However, because of the diversity of the regions, we could see some differences. While some areas are wetter, in others, in the Sahelian area, as we know, the soils are lighter. So the activities cut across Sahelian, Sudan, and Northern Guinea savanna. Yes.
Okay. Does that dictate the cultural practices as well, linked with those agroecologies?
Yeah.
Okay. And for the second question, yes, I think we can say yes, the analyses were carried directly on ClimMob. Yes. Okay. Let me move to a second question. I'll go to Doris. Go ahead and unmute and turn your webcam on, please, if you can, and ask your question.
I can't find the camera. I'm participating via phone. Okay, it's here.
Okay, there you are. Hello.
Okay, hi. So this was a very summarized way you've presented the work, and that's very good. So thanks and kudos to the team for being able to bring 3 crops together and synergize on resources. But my question is, you measured marketability. How did you do that? Because we've had situations where farmers tell us they are not able to answer the marketability part because they were not able to sell it. I mean, to sell the product due to the small plot sizes. In this case, how did you manage to get that information? I would really love to learn from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have one of the presenters answer that question, please? Rekiya or Hawa?
Oh, okay. With respect to marketability, sometimes when you ask our farmers how they are able to market, from the nature of the materials they see, from the pods and the grains, they know the ones that command more value. So from that, they are able to answer which material is more marketable. It's not that they are able to sell these materials before they respond to the questions, but based on the qualities of these materials that we have, they are able to know which material consumers will buy more. So they answer based on that here.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer, Rekiya. Let's move on. We have another question in the chat from Bello. Good presentation. Did you do a qualitative food assessment of groundnut to capture women traits preference in terms of oil quality, cooking time, and food product quality?
No, we didn't do that. It was basically from just growing and then to harvest. There was no quality assessment of the groundnut materials.
Okay, I don't know if Bello wants to say anything about that. You might have any suggestions on that or comments. Okay, let me go to Paswell. You can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
No, thank you very much. I'm trying to unmute the video, but okay, there it is.
There. Got it. Hello.
You get what you pay for. Just a question. Thank you so much for a very accessible presentation. Paswell Marenya, economist with CIMMYT, based here in Nairobi. I think I know at least 2 out of the 3 presenters, so this is very encouraging. I feel like I'm part of the team. So one question is about sort of livestock, because the farming systems where the colleagues are working are very strongly crop livestock. Do you integrate those sort of traits also in terms of asking in the Tricot for suitability for livestock crop integration or livestock feeding, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paswell.
No, sorry, it was not part of the question, actually. It was not part of the question. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes.
It wasn't part of the question, yes.
Okay. Is there plans like to have some of that like in future rounds?
Yes, actually, we are proposing another seminar, webinar, of course, so which Dr. Abdulrahman is going to talk extensively on the socio-economics aspect, and you're going to hear more on other aspects of this project. So this is basically based on breeding from planting, you have vegetative flowering and up to harvest. But post-harvest, we're going to have another webinar for all that.
Yes, that webinar will be the beginning of February, so
Okay.
you'll receive an invitation for that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me go to the next question on the chat from Jacob Van Etten. Is there an explanation for the low statistical power in the groundnut trial? Did you take the results back to the farmers to enhance their understanding and motivation? So you have two questions in that. Rekiya or Hawa, you want to answer?
Yeah, sorry, can you take the question again?
Yes. Is there an explanation for the low statistical power in the groundnut trial? That's the first one.
Okay, well, for that one, I think it has to do with the level of responses we got. Of course, the level of responses did not match what the number of respondents. So I think that would have influenced the statistical power. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, second question. Did you take the results back to farmers to enhance their understanding and motivation?
Okay, well, yes, we had a feedback workshop after the trial, and we also, of course, gave them we had that workshop where we talked to the farmers on the results obtained. Yes, we did all those.
Mm-hmm. What was their general reaction to the feedback?
Well, they were really happy because they were happy about the fact that they were being brought in with respect to varietal selection, not just developing and just bringing something up, but the aspect of their eye very encouraging for them. So that was an aspect they really welcomed for getting. Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There was a bit of a delay, but you're still there.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that the farmers were encouraged with the fact that their preferences were being taken into consideration in varietal development. They were happy about that. Yeah.
Okay, great. I've got another question from Bello. What are the challenges you encountered in combining the 3-trop in Tricot testing?
I can't really say if we can actually point out a particular challenge, since the communities that were chosen were based on cultivation and consumption. So the field agents that were selected were familiar with the practices of these 3 crops. So we can't really point out specifically if there's a challenge. We didn't encounter any, actually. They were already familiar with the practice of planting consumption. So it was a smooth sail. It was just little challenges here and there where some saw sorghum and they decided to intercrop with another legume. But apart from that, it was okay. Because there was a particular design we gave them on how to lay the crops, either vertically or horizontally. We developed our own trial design for that, where everything could fit. Because at times, whatever you plan on paper cannot really translate to the field, because at times field conditions are different. So we created that and gave them options. So it's either vertically or horizontally. And so far, so good. They followed and it was understandable to all. Sorry for my voice.
Can I add to that? Let me add to that.
Yes.
Actually, there is no issue working with the farmers on all the 3 crops, because the selection of the areas we worked was purposive. We went to the farmers who were growing these crops. And most important is that you hardly find a farmer who grows only millet or only sorghum or only groundnut. So all the farmers are growing these crops. One point I learned was taking millet to an area in Bauchi State called Das, which was something new to them. They don't grow pile millet. What they grow is it pile millet? I don't know. It's Maiwa. I don't know. Maryam, if Maryam is here, she would have helped us. They grow a kind of millet that is long season. They don't plant or they don't sow their seed, millet seed, as at the time we planted. So any farmer who wants to grow millet in that area has to wait until around mid-August before they plant. And it takes through up to October or early November, according to them. But for the trials, we established them early, around July. So the millet didn't do well there. Otherwise, the farmers, they have knowledge in growing all the crops. In some instances together, or in some, at least two of the crops on the same field. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mohammed, for
Yeah.
the addition to that. I've got another question on the chat from Madroba. He asked, considering the challenges outlined, what portion of the established trials was affected or lost? I think you mentioned some flooding. You lost some trials to flooding.
Yeah. In some cases, we lost the complete trials. In some, ourselves, we could not reach the plots because of the flooding. We cannot cross the waters to reach where the plants, where the trial were established. And this thing came within a matter of 2 to 3 days. The flooding came within a matter of 2 to 3 days. So most of the data were captured for the vegetative growth stages. And but at the time of, towards the time of harvest, then the floods came. So we couldn't reach to the position. So in some cases, the whole trials were lost. And for theft or for the issue with the herders, part of the trials were lost in some instances. So there are areas where you have few plants. And the plot size is small, 4 meters, 4 ridges, 5 meter long is a small plot. So anything that is lost from there affect the overall productivity of the small plots. So that is one thing that I think maybe if we have the resources, when we are going to do this kind of activity in future, we are going to increase the plot size a little bit, or to the level where the resources, especially seed, can be able to accommodate. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting lesson learned. I've got a related question for you. Are there any flood-tolerant varieties in the pipeline? This is from Ragapathy.
Well, the breeders, to my knowledge, we don't have any groundnut that is resistant to flooding. For us in northern Nigeria, flooding is an emerging thing. It's emerging now. So it's a challenge to us breeders maybe to start thinking on breeding varieties for resistance to flooding. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I've got one last question. Well, there's 2 questions in one from Doris. What percentage of farmers fully participated in the trial from the beginning to the end? That's the first one.
Okay, we can say about 65% if you have to rate it at the end of the day. Because initially it's supposed to be 300, but we had a demise of a particular FA. So we lost like 10 out of it. So it was 290 at the end of the day that we had. So if you look at the percentage, it reduced to about 65%.
Okay.
Special. Yes.
Thank you. And what were some of the lessons that you learned, and how would you advise other scientists interested in the Tricot methodology?
Okay. Some of the lessons is the importance of sensitization, telling the farmers the importance of the project, what you are doing, because if they learn the importance and the benefits to them, then they can better safeguard what you're bringing to them, whatever technology you're bringing to them. And also the importance of monitoring visitation, because when they feel they're planting something and you are not coming, to even check, then they feel it's not important to you and it's not important to them. So it also stresses the importance of visitation. It should be part of the schedule. It's very important. So any scientist planning on conducting Tricot should make it a must. Monitoring visitation and also capacity building, refresher training, on and on.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I have a follow-up question about that. Were the site visits mainly done by the scientist, or were they done by the field agents?
Okay, so what we did, like the focus, like I said initially, why we merged three partner institutions coming together now, these locations, to prevent duplication of effort. The monitoring was conducted by the scientists. So example, you have 5 states and there are 5 of us. So each scientist would take one state and visit the 3 crops in each location, the communities. That way we're able to manage resource efficiently. So that was what we did.
Yeah.
And it was very nice. Yeah.
Great, that's good to hear. Are there any other questions for our presenters or comments? Something
Please, just
somebody
an
would like to
addition.
Yes, go ahead.
That's addition. Just like clarification. All the millets type that we grow in Nigeria, they are all palm millets. The Dawud, the Maiwa, and the Gero, they are all types of palm millet. Just to clarify, it's not that the Maiwa is a different palm millet, based on what Professor Ganya was trying to say. Because that was my area of specialization.
Thank you,
Just to clarify
Professor.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We really gained very important insight in DAS, which is some southern part of Bauchi State. They grow the Dawud type, but
Maiwa.
when we were wondering why is our millet not growing, they said, well, this is not the time to grow millet. So they didn't realize that the trial were set up for them to learn, and they would have delayed planting of the millet until when at the appropriate time to do that. So and
Yes.
the rainfall in that area is really
It's more.
is
more.
high. Is higher than what I think millet will be. Will be ideal for.
Gero
Yeah.
type. Gero type is short season, but the Maiwa is long maturing, so it stay longer in the field. That's why if we take it to the far north where the rainy season is short, the rainfall will not be enough for it, so you will not have anything. So the Maiwa type is grown in the southern Guinea, Niger State, where they have longer rainy season because it's late maturing.
Yes, the more reason why we took them even to the Bauchi area is these are advanced breeding lines that are about to be released. So some of the crosses in their backgrounds, there are the Maiwa type as a part of the parents. That's the more reason why I say it's good we test them in all ecologies and see which one will adapt to the ecology.
Okay.
Yes, but it's
so
a good
what prompted my comment was you are saying that they grow one type of millet, which is not palm millet. Actually, all of them are palm millets. It's just that there are different types. We have the short duration Gero and the Dauro.
Okay.
Dauro is also short duration, which sometimes we call it transplanted millet, and it's photoperiod sensitive. So if you plant it early, it will not mature until when the period towards the end of the season. But if you plant it around August, it can still fruit. And that one is restricted to plateau area. And usually they transplant it around early September and end of September, August to early September, up to middle September. And it will still flower and fruit sufficiently. So it's very short duration, and it's sensitive to periodism. That's why but the Maiwa is long duration. And it's also so if you don't plant it early, do not have sufficient rain. But all of them are different types of pearl millet.
Mhm. Thank you for the
Okay. Thank you,
clarification.
ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Thank you. So we have lots of thanks coming in the chat to the team. And I wanted to thank in particular Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Abdulmalik, Professor Mohammed, and also Dr. Maryam Dawud, who wasn't able to present today, but who contributed to the project. Right. So I just wanted to take this opportunity that everyone is here to let you know, or to remind you if you already knew, that this will be our 15th webinar in the series this year. And these are the previous webinars and presenters. All of these recordings are available on the community website. The URL is up there, community.thousandfarms.net. So please go there. If you see something interesting, have a look, and you can also leave comments if you'd like, or contact the presenters for more questions. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today, and thank you especially to our presenters. That was very interesting to share experiences in Nigeria, and we look forward to another webinar in a couple of weeks. I'll be sending invitations to you all. Thanks very much.